Hare Krishna. We welcome you all to this day 4 of Gita Diploma course. Thank you so much for joining with us. Today, a new journey to begin in the bigger journey of this course. And we invite you all to heartily participate in the session, interact, learn, and also later on try to practice. Thank you so much once again, and Hare Krishna to all those watching live on YouTube and Facebook. We begin by saying the prayers. Om Ajnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti-Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Today the discussion is about duty. Yesterday we heard about identity. Today we are going to discuss about duty. It's related. If you remember from the first session which we had in this course, we discussed how chapter 1 is about Arjuna's lamentation, his confusion. Chapter 2 is setting a right identity for Arjuna. And once one has a proper identity, the next question is what to do? What's my duty? So this chapter enlightens Arjuna, and through Arjuna, each one of us, what are our different duties in life. We have to know our duty. So in the previous chapter, if you recall, yesterday we did it, we discussed many things. Actually, it was a pretty long chapter. We began with shloka by Sanjaya, where he's trying to shatter the hope of Dhritarashtra, who is thinking perhaps Arjuna is not going to fight. So Sanjaya tells Dhritarashtra that don't worry, Krishna is there, he will take care of Arjuna. And then Arjuna makes few more reasons why he doesn't want to fight, and then he surrenders to Krishna, that I can't decide what's good for me, you decide for me. You tell me what's good for me. And then Krishna takes the role of a guru, spiritual master. He first teaches the soul and body difference, and then tells Arjuna, you should fight. Then Krishna tells Arjuna, fighting is your duty, prescribed duty. So you must fight. Then he tells that if you fight with Bhakti Yoga or Nishkama Karma Yoga spirit, then you won't get any sin for fighting. So please fight. And then when he introduces this concept of Bhakti Yoga, Arjuna is pretty inspired by that. He wants to know more in detail. So he asks, what are the qualities of such a person who is Sthita Pragya? He asked 4 questions. And then Krishna answers them in the last section of the chapter we discussed yesterday, chapter 2. Krishna talks about the aim of such a person, the work of such a person, and the destination of such a person. So this is how chapter 2 was discussed yesterday. Before entering into chapter 3, I would like to now give you an understanding of how chapter 2 leads to chapter 3. Chapter 2 is the summary of whole Bhagavad-Gita. Basically, Krishna has told Arjuna everything in a nutshell in chapter 2. So what makes the discussion continue? The discussion continues only because Arjuna is not sure yet. He has not understood it fully yet. So before we go in there, let me ask you a question to see if you remember. Yesterday, at the end, Lord Krishna, he gave the example of a creature while explaining the actions of a Sthita Pragya person. Which creature Krishna used to explain the Sthita Pragya person? That this is how a Sthita Pragya person does not act. Very simple question, and I'm sure you would know the answer. So which creature was that? Tortoise. Very good. Thank you so much. So it was tortoise. Krishna mentioned that just like a tortoise withdraws itself inside, all the limbs, the head, everything. Likewise, a sthita-prajna person, a self-situated person who is fixed in mind and intelligence, also withdraws within whenever there are situations where he doesn't or she doesn't want to engage the senses. This is very interesting. You can see in this picture, which we have tried to show, how the tortoise goes inside the shell, and you cannot then harm the tortoise. It's very difficult. I saw a video, I don't remember, it was National Geographic or some video clip, where a tiger comes across a small tortoise, and this tortoise is walking on land. But as soon as the tiger approaches the tortoise goes inside. The tiger tries to, move the tortoise around, puts its claws inside, but is not able to harm the tortoise in any way. For 10 minutes, it tries and tries and tries, gets frustrated, leaves the place. After some time, the tortoise, again, the head, the limbs, all are out again. So this is how a person controls oneself from temptations that come from inside and also outside. Then we discussed also something very crucial, which will help us understand this chapter better. So I'm revising that. Krishna spoke about identity. Yes, the whole chapter we did yesterday was about identity. Now, if you remember, identity leads to something very essential. And what is that? Thoughts. Many times people ask, why do I think like this and why I don't think like that? That's because we have given ourselves a particular identity. If we want to change our thoughts, if we want to change our thinking pattern, we will also have to change the definition of how we identify ourselves. What do we identify with? What identification we accept for ourselves? So first is change in identity. That leads to change in thoughts, and that would lead to change in actions. This is how it works. We cannot superficially change the actions without changing the thoughts. We cannot superficially change the thoughts without changing our identity. So in the previous chapter, Krishna spoke about two identities. One is the external identity and one is internal identity. So the external identity is called the body, which is different for every living entity. Every living entity has got a different kind of body, which we can see with our eyes. And there is an internal identity, which is the true identity, Atma, or soul. Right? So here, a question comes. Of course, it's a very simple question, and you all would know the answer to it. Of these two identities, which one is a permanent identity? Of these two. Why I'm asking this question? Because this answer which you are going to give will play a crucial role to understand chapter 3. So of these two identities, which one is permanent? Which one is always there for us? The soul, the internal. Very good. Thank you so much. So I am spirit soul. That is my permanent identity. The body is a temporary identity, and that identity keeps on changing. Isn't it? That identity keeps on changing. So now on the basis of this, let's move on to understand the next thing, which is we are spirit souls inside the body. This has to be understood, which means we do have a body. We cannot deny the body. The body exists and the body has a particular nature, but that's not all in all. We are spirit soul who has a body. Not that we are the body who has a spirit soul. We are spirit soul inside the body. So now Krishna, trying to convince Arjuna to fight, gives 4 reasons for which Arjuna should be fighting. First, he says, Arjuna, the soul does not die and the body must die. 𝗪𝗲𝗃 हि ध्रुवो मृत्युर् ध्रुवं जन्म मृतस्य च. Tasmada pariharyethe na tvam shochitum arhasi. Chapter 2, verse number 27. That the soul will not die, we discussed that, and the body will die, will come to end. So you must fight, you should not lament. And then Krishna tells another thing which is very important for us to understand. He says, it is your swadharma to fight. It's your dharma. You must fight. It's your duty. And he uses this word called swadharma. Now, swadharma, it's made up of two words. The first word is swa, and the second word is dharma. Any one of you who knows little Hindi or Sanskrit would know swa means self. Dharma means duty. So here the word swadharma can mean the duty of this self, which can mean either duty of the soul and the duty of the body. We'll come to that later. Then the third reason for Arjuna to fight that Krishna was proposing was whether Arjuna loses the war or whether Arjuna wins the war, there is going to be happiness in both situations, because happiness comes by doing our duty. By executing our duty, we get happiness. Happiness is the result of performance of duty, not the result of getting the result of the duty. Try to understand. Happiness is an outcome of performance of duty, not an outcome of the result that we get by the performance of duty. So he said, you do your duty and then you are going to be happy. That's the way to happiness. And then finally, if you perform this duty as a matter of duty, you fight as a matter of duty, then there is no sin. There is no bondage for you. You are free person. So here, Krishna, when he spoke about swadharma, two kinds of dharma, of soul, of body, right? There are two kinds of dharma. This dharma of the soul, the dharma of the body. Previously, I asked you, which of the two identities is permanent? So you said, the identity that I am spirit, soul is permanent. Now the question is, of these two dharmas, which dharma belongs to Arjuna when it comes to fighting? Like the dharma to fight, is it the dharma of the body or the dharma of the soul? Arjuna has to fight on the battlefield. Is that dharma of the body or dharma of the soul? I hope the question is clear. The dharma to fight for Arjuna, is that the dharma of the body or the dharma of the soul? Dharma of, okay, now some of you are saying both. Some of you are saying body. Some of you are saying soul. Try to think deeply about it. To fight, is that the dharma of the body or dharma of the soul? Try to go deep into it. Of the body, of the soul. Okay, we are getting 50-50 answers. Actually, it is dharma of the body, which is obtained from material nature. How? Let us try to understand. You see, dharma means duty. Now, Arjuna's permanent identity is he is soul. Temporary identity is he has a Kshatriya body. He has to fight, but he has to fight because he has a Kshatriya body. That soul is in the body which has a Kshatriya nature, so he has to fight. In the previous life, Arjuna might or might not have had a Kshatriya body. In the next life, again, Arjuna may have a different kind of body. And if he has a different kind of body, that time the duty will be something different, not the duty to fight. Now he's standing on the battlefield, so he has the duty to fight. But that's not his duty all the time, 24 hours a day. So this duty to fight is related to the body, because he has the body which has the nature of a Kshatriya. So for Arjuna, that's a material duty. But that material duty is going to give spiritual benefits. That's a different thing. But it's not fully a spiritual duty. It's a material duty that's going to give spiritual benefits. The question arises, then what is the dharma of the soul? Now that Krishna is going to discuss in chapter 7, 8, 9, 10, like that. Now he's teaching Arjuna the duty related to Arjuna's nature as a Kshatriya. Last question for this slide. Why to fight is not the dharma of the soul? Think about it. Why to fight is not the dharma of the soul? Why to fight is not dharma of the soul? Let's see what you've got to say for this. Is my internet connection slow today? I'm not getting quick responses from you. Okay. Because the soul is immortal. Okay. Soul is eternal. Yes. Because the body is detached from the soul. Soul is Satchidananda. Dharma of the soul is to serve Krishna. Okay, yeah, that's true. Soul has a different dharma. Soul does not belong to material world. Very nice, thank you. So now you see, some of you mentioned it directly, some of you pointed to it indirectly. Please try to understand. Soul is eternal, so the dharma of the soul should be something eternal. Now, fighting is not an eternal duty for anyone. It cannot be an eternal duty. Fighting happens sometimes and sometimes it's not required. So how can it be the dharma of the soul? The dharma of the soul is something which the soul cannot give up at any moment of the time. It has to be there at all the moments, at all times. So how can fighting be an eternal dharma for the living entity? It's for the souls, there has to be one common dharma which is applicable to all the souls, because souls are all similar, isn't it? So fighting is the dharma associated with the body of a Kshatriya. And Arjuna is in a Kshatriya body, that's why he has that dharma. So the answer is, this dharma is based on the body, and the body can change. If Arjuna would have a Brahmana's body, then his duty would be something different. I don't have a Kshatriya's body, so my duty would be something different. Try to understand this thing. Many times people confuse too much between material duties and spiritual duties. They think material duties are spiritual duties are material duties, but they are two different things. So after explaining this to Arjuna, Krishna was at the end of chapter 2 looking at Arjuna whether he has understood. Is Arjuna now ready to fight, or is still confused? Krishna was trying to understand what is going on in Arjuna's mind. Arjuna was not sure yet. Though Krishna had answered all the questions of Arjuna, Arjuna was not sure yet. Arjuna was still confused. So Krishna then is waiting for Arjuna to speak up. What's going on in his mind? Arjuna, being a very good student, puts a question in front of Krishna. He's trying to clarify. What is trying to clarify? If I'm spirit soul, if I'm Atma, and for Atma, the dharma is something different from the dharma of the body, then why should I fight? I'm not the body, I'm spirit soul. And it's the dharma of the body to fight, but I'm not the body. So why should I fight? Why should I, who is spirit soul, should have a material duty? I should have only spiritual duties. No. So why cannot I give up my material duties? Why cannot I do tyag, sacrifice of my material duties? Because anyway, I am not the body. I am spirit soul. I am not a Kshatriya. And since I am not a Kshatriya, my duty is not to fight. My duty is something different. I am spirit soul. I am Atma. So now this question troubles any sincere practitioner of spiritual life who gets introduced to the path of bhakti or spirituality or yoga. They have this fight, conflict, whether I should take my spiritual life seriously, or should I take my material life seriously, or should I have a balance between them, where to focus more, what to prioritize, where to give how much time. This confusion is almost always there for a newcomer to spirituality. So with Arjuna's help, it's going to clarify for us. So Arjuna is going to ask now a question to Krishna. The question is, you can see on screen, Arjuna says, Arjuna uvacha 𝗟𝗶𝗁 𝗃𝗏𝗁 mata buddhi janardana tat kim karmani ghore mam niyojayasi keshavam tatha. Arjuna said, O Janardhan, one of the names of Krishna is Janardhan. O Keshava, why do you want me to engage in this ghastly warfare? I thought you being Janardhan, you are the maintainer of people's lives. And why are you asking me to kill people? If you think that intelligence is better than fruitive work, you told me in chapter 2 that one should use one's intelligence and one should give up wrong actions. Fighting is a wrong action. Why are you then asking me to fight? You should be telling me one thing. Why are you telling me two contradicting things? Why are you confusing me? Just tell me one thing what I should be doing. 𝗬𝗵𝗵𝗀𝗍 You are confusing me by telling me two opposite things. One thing you say one should understand, one is spirit, soul, Atma. And other side you say you should fight. But then why should I fight if I'm Atma? I shouldn't be fighting. So tell me one thing, please. I don't want you to confuse me. You decide and you tell me one thing. Should I fight or I should not fight? So now, why is Krishna not telling one thing to Arjuna? Because Krishna wants Arjuna to decide. That's the trick actually. In spiritual life, we are given all the teachings. We are shown the path. But at the end, it's we who have to decide what we want to do. No one else is going to decide that for us, because the responsibility of our life, our decisions, is completely in our hands. So Krishna is advising Arjuna, Krishna is showing the path to Arjuna, but Krishna is leaving it upon Arjuna to decide. And that will also become more clear in chapter 18. So Arjuna was thinking, his confusion, try to understand, his confusion is, he's thinking these two paths which Krishna proposed in chapter 2, the path of karma, the path of work, and the path of jnana, knowledge, they don't go hand in hand. They are opposite, they are conflicting. That's how Arjuna is thinking. So he's saying, you tell me one thing, either you ask me to work and forget about spiritual life, or you ask me to just take spiritual life very seriously and forget about my material duties. Why are you not telling me one thing alone? So then Krishna clarifies. He says, Lokesmin dvida nishta. He says, you see, in this world there are two kinds of people. There are some people who are more work-oriented, and there are some people who are more knowledge-oriented. There are some people who can basically not study at all. I mean, they are least interested in knowledge. They are very active physically. They would like to do so many things. And 24 hours, if you give them, they will be planning how to do this, how to do that. Always physically very active. So these are work-oriented people. Too many ambitions, too many goals, too many plans. And then they think less, they do more. But there's another category of people, they're knowledge-oriented people. They think more and they don't do so much, but they enjoy in the knowledge, they use their intelligence a lot. So Krishna says there are two kinds of people. One of them he calls karma yogi. Karma yogi. Now, from your understanding of Bhagavad-Gita, give me a very simple definition of karma yogi. What is karma yogi? Define karma yogi. We discussed about this in the introduction section, but what is the simplest definition of this term, karma yogi? Let's see, what do you have got to say? Today somehow I am getting response very late from you. Is it because of internet lagging connection? Okay, someone said now, do the duty and don't worry about the fruits. Okay, who believes in doing? Okay, performance prescribed duty. Okay, thank you. I'm still waiting for the most accurate answer. One who derives happiness through performing duty. Okay, keeping Krishna in center. One who is workaholic. Okay, workaholic. Work done without seeking rewards. Karma means doing for God. Okay, now please, let's try to understand. Let's try to break down these words. karma yogi. A person who is a workaholic will not be called karma yogi. A person who is a workaholic will be called karmi, not karma yogi. Karmi, a materialistic person, workaholic. Karma yogi means a person who does work, is interested in work, along with that is also interested in yoga. That's why karma yogi. And what is yoga for that person? If you remember, in first session we discussed yoga means to connect. So karma yogi means one who believes in connecting with God through the results of one's work. Okay, that's the answer. One who connects with God through the results of one's work. That person works, that person is interested in working, but whatever results that person gets from the work, that person uses that result to connect with God. Understand? That's called karma yogi. Karmi means that person is only interested in work, no interest in God. Karma yogi means interested in work plus interested in God and uses the result to serve God. That's karma yogi. So Krishna says a karma yogi is also interested in self-realization. And the next category of person is jnana yogi. This person is also interested in connecting with God, but through knowledge. These people are more thoughtful. They are like philosophers, thinkers, poets, and scientists. They are not so much interested in material results, but they are always thinking about the truth, the absolute. They are the seekers, the spiritual seekers who are interested in getting knowledge. So these people are less active materially or physically. Krishna said both of them, they may seem to be having different goals. Arjuna was thinking like that. These are two different paths that will lead to two different goals. But Krishna clarified. He said, no, these are two different levels on the same path. These are very important points. Please try to understand. If you understand these, then you understand Bhagavad-Gita and the sequence in which Krishna takes Arjuna from step 1 to step 10. So Krishna says these are two different levels on the same path, not two different paths. Based on the adhikar or qualification of a person, that person can either be a karma yogi or a jnana yogi. But the goal is self-realization, identifying with the self. So having spoken that, then Krishna said, na karmanam anarambha naishkarmyam. You see, Arjuna has a very preconceived idea of what is right, what is wrong. We all do that. We always have preconceived notions. Okay, this is how this is how it should be. So Arjuna has a particular way of thinking, but that thinking is not correct. So Krishna is trying to address that thinking. How Arjuna is thinking is, we discussed this yesterday also. Arjuna is thinking any action gives reaction, which means karma will give bondage. So if you want to become free from karma, what you do? Stop acting. No action. No action, no reaction. Now technically this thing is called sannyas. No action means sannyas. I quit. That's called sannyas. And when I quit, then that gives me no reaction, which means liberation or mukti or moksha or freedom, whatever you call it. So Arjuna is thinking in this way. I stop acting, I stop getting reactions. Sannyas means mukti, freedom. But Krishna is saying, no, Arjuna, it's not like that. Krishna is saying, if you don't act, which is called inaction, still you are going to get reaction. Still. Why? Now this is very confusing sometimes. If I don't act, how will I get any reaction? So Krishna explains to Arjuna, no person can be inactive for a moment because every person has a certain nature and that nature forces that person to act, either by the body or the mind or the words. We act in three ways: physically, verbally, mentally. So Arjuna said, but I have seen people who take sannyas. I have lived in the forest. I have seen ascetics there, and they live the life of a sannyasi. They have given up doing everything. They don't do a job. They are just sitting in the forest doing their sadhana, meditation, spiritual practices. So what about them? So Krishna said, you see, yes, people can give up, but then there are also people who artificially give up. Externally, they may give up their duties, but internally, they are still very attached. Physically, they might be active, but physically, they might become inactive, and mentally, they are very active. Inactive outside, active inside. So Krishna says that person externally may appear to be not doing anything, but within the mind, that person is thinking a lot. And that's why that person is also going to get reaction. So Krishna said, Arjuna, if you become like that, if you give up your duties for the sake of spiritual progress, but then you are also not making spiritual progress, then I call you a pretender. 𝗍𝗂𝗧𝗍𝗲 𝗪𝗍𝗍. You are a false spiritualist, a pretender, not a true spiritualist. And then Krishna says, better than such a pretender sannyasi is someone who is engaged in karma yoga, who is performing one's duties very nicely, but offering the results of one's duties to God for the service of God. Now, this is a very important point to learn from Bhagavad-Gita. Bhagavad-Gita does not promote or does not support, giving up material duties. Bhagavad-Gita is a book which teaches us elevation in our spiritual consciousness. So there are stages, and it gives us very clear understanding of which stage means what and who is qualified to be on which stage. So Srila Prabhupada, he writes in his explanation to Bhagavad Gita, this particular chapter, these verses, that in the eyes of Krishna, better is a person who is sincere and honest worker than a pretender, so-called sadhu. A person who is a sannyasi, but that person is interested in others' money, that person is interested in making material profits. Better than that is a sweeper in the street. That's how Srila Prabhupada explains, because this sweeper is honest. So very, very important thing to understand actually. Prabhupada writes in Bhagavad Gita as it is 3.7 purport, for self-realization, one can live a controlled life as prescribed in the Shastras and continue carrying out his business without attachment, and in that way make progress. We go further to understand the lesson from what we discussed now. Spiritual or religious life is not for show off. It's not a whimsical thing that I'm spiritually now interested, so I don't cater to my material duties. Nor is it any kind of fashion. It is a serious responsibility for self-progress. And it's an internal progress, not exactly an external progress. It's a progress within our consciousness. So then Krishna told Arjuna, that's why, if you have understood all this, niyatam kuru karmatvam, you perform your prescribed duty, for doing so is better than not working. You work, that's much better for you than not working. Now Arjuna says, Krishna, now you have made me more confused, because you say, if someone acts, that leads to bondage, reaction, and then you say even a sannyasi might be acting mentally, so that will also lead to bondage for that sannyasi. However, someone is acting physically, someone is acting in the mind, it's better to, at least stop acting in some way. So in my understanding, it's better to give up one's duties and be active in the mind, and then after some time give up one's activities on the mental platform also. But you say that's wrong, one should not be like that. So you are asking me to give up karma, I should not do karma? Krishna says, wait a second. I'm not asking you to give up karma. I'm not asking you to give up your duties. I'm asking you to give up attachment to the results of your duties. So you should do karma yoga, don't do karma. That's what I'm asking. Now this is a very central teaching of Bhagavad Gita, which we have to really, really grasp if we want to make progress spiritually, that one should act in connection with God, not just one should act. If we simply act and then we say this is my duty, but then that has no connection with God, then that will bring us no spiritual progress. No spiritual progress. So there has to be karma in connection with God, then no karma bandhana. Then there is no bondage, there is no reaction. So Krishna mentions this in ninth verse of this chapter, which is again a very commonly known verse, Yagyartat karmano anyatra lokoyam karma bandhanah tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sangah samachara. 3 points. Work not for results. Second, work as duty, as sacrifice, as yajna. And third, work for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. 3 things. Work not for the result, work as a matter of duty, and work for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. Then our work or karma becomes karma yoga. Then that yoga feature is added to it. Otherwise, it's only karma. And when we say only karma gives only material result, no spiritual benefit. Here, the word yajna does not mean a homa. Like generally in India, people think yajna means a homa where people are having a fire sacrifice and they put oblations in that, swaha, swaha. Yajna means something more than that. And what is that? So this verse which I already spoke, it's like this. Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction. And in that way, you will always remain free from bondage. Work for Krishna. Work for God. What is sacrifice? We'll discuss that in detail. Please have patience. It's coming further in the chapter. Now, a question may come up in our mind or in someone's mind. Why should I work as sacrifice? I mean, no one told us that. We never learned about in our life. We just learned that you have a nature and you need to earn money, and so you should get a job and you should work, finish. Why perform work as sacrifice? So then Krishna explains the whole purpose of creation. Why the creation is, why we exist, what is our role in the creation, how we are so much dependent upon the cosmos. He explains that. So he says, long ago, Lord of all creatures made this system to help people fulfill their material desires in the right way. Again, what we are discussing now may not be so much known to all those who are viewing this session, but please try to understand. The creation, the place where we exist, has been created. It has a purpose. It has a design. So it has also a manual, how everyone in this world should be living. Just like a government of a country makes some laws for every citizen of that country. So we are living in this universe, so this universe has some laws, some principles on which the universe functions. We all have desires, isn't it? That cannot be denied. We want so many things. We have small desires, we have big desires, we have desires related to the body, to the mind. So now these desires have to be fulfilled. And how do we fulfill those desires? Well, someone may say, you work, you get the result, and then you use that result to fulfill your material desire. But Krishna is explaining something more deep. Even if I work, and even if I get, let's say, money, will that always fulfill my material desires? Not so. So he explains a system of fulfilling desires as given in the scriptures. He talks about these two kinds of entities. One is the human, that means all of us. And the other are the demigods. Demigods are who? I'll explain that a little bit ahead from now. So how it works, try to understand that. If you understand that, then yajna, sacrifice, all that will make sense. So humans, they perform sacrifice, yajna. The purpose is to please the demigods. And when the humans do that, the demigods, they bless the humans so that the material desires of the human beings can be fulfilled. How this functions? First, before we go to the understanding of functionality of this, try to understand who are the demigods. So who are the demigods? The demigods are not gods, complete gods. They are semi-gods. Semi-gods means they are empowered by the God, the Supreme God, with some specific powers. They are empowered representatives of the Supreme Lord. This universe is like a government, and in a government there are different ministers who have different powers: finance minister, health minister, and human resources and defense. There are so many different categories. Likewise, in the universal government made by the Supreme Lord, there are people who are empowered with different powers so that they can fulfill the desires of the living entities. Like there is a supply of air which we need. We need, the sunlight. We need the moonlight. We need food to eat. Isn't it? There has to be rain. We need gold, silver, diamonds. So there are personalities who are in control of all these natural resources that we get. And they provide that to humanity, which is very essential for us to survive. If we don't get these supplies from them, we cannot survive. So these people are assistants to the Supreme Lord so that the whole cosmos can go on functioning in a very, very smooth manner. Of course, those who have knowledge of the Vedas, those who are born in India, those who have some understanding of Sanatana Dharma or Hinduism, they know about the demigods. In general, they are called Devata or Devi. Here, now we ask you to try to help us understand for these different departments: intelligence, learning, light, water, justice, air, etc. Who are the demigods? You might be knowing their names. So they are people, specific personalities with specific names who are in charge behind these energies or these resources. Intelligence is a resource, right? Learning ability is a resource. Light, which we get, that is also a resource. So are the demigods behind these resources that are made available to us? You can even put the numbers so that it's easy for me to understand which one you are referring for what. So first is intelligence, second is learning, third is light, fourth is water, fifth is justice, sixth is air. Okay, we are getting some response. Today, it seems to me that either you are not responding or the internet is not working fine, because we are getting so slow replies. Perhaps the internet is bad today. There's a lot of lag, and that's why my voice reaches you much after I've spoken it. Okay, so better I give the answers than wait. So for intelligence, the personality who is in charge is called Ganesh, Buddhi. For learning, the personality who is in charge is Saraswati. For light, the personalities are Surya and Chandra, the sun god and the moon god. For water, it's Varuna Dev. For justice is Yamaraj. And for air, it's Vayudev. So these are personalities. They are not fictional characters like some foolish people think. They are personalities who have a different kind of body than us, and they live in a different place than where we live, and they have much greater powers and control over the universe than what we have. So we depend upon them for the fulfillment of all these needs that we have. So Krishna said, you see, these demigods, they are working hard to fulfill your desires. Whatever basic needs you have, the demigods provide. So you should do sacrifice as a reciprocation. So Arjuna says, okay, if someone who does not perform sacrifice, what about that person? So Krishna uses a pretty strong word now, which might, shake up a person if that person is not so much aware of the teachings of Bhagavad-Gita and the Vedic scriptures. Krishna says, then such a person is a thief. That person is a thief because a thief is someone who illegally tries to occupy what doesn't belong to that person and does not pay the price. So if that person takes any object without paying the price, that person is a thief. So Krishna says, when we take the resources from material nature, but in return we don't provide, then we are thieves. We are thieves, right? So he explains a pretty simple concept. He says, take the example of food. Everyone eats food. We all survive on food. So he explains to Arjuna, take the example of food. We get food from where? It's material nature, Mother Earth, that gives us food. Food is not produced in factory. No, it's produced from earth. So there is rain, and then the earth gives us food. So this commodity which we have received from the nature, we have to also pay back to material nature, to the demigods who are in charge of the material nature. So how should we do that then? We offer the food that we get from the material nature to the person who gave us food. This is a very important concept to understand, and this we should be doing in our life every day. When we get, we should also be eager to give. If we only get and we take and take and take, but we don't give, then it actually puts us in a debt. We are indebted. We are indebted to those who have given to us. So Krishna says, like the earth has given us food, and the earth has given us food because the Supreme Lord has allowed for us to get the food. So once we get the food, it's our duty that we offer that food out of gratitude to the Supreme Lord. That you have given me food, I thank you. It's pretty simple to understand. In the first session we discussed about going to Ganges for taking a holy bath. So you must have seen people who take bath in Ganges. They take some little water in their hand and they put it back in the Ganges, isn't it? It's not that they carry water from outside and they bring and put in Ganges. They go to Ganges, enter the Ganges river up to their waist level, then they take some water in their hand, Anjali, and then they put it back into the Ganges. So Krishna says that's how we need to deal with material nature. Whatever we get from the material nature, we offer it to the source of the material nature, the Supreme Lord, as a matter of sacrifice, yajna, in gratitude for what we have received. In that way, our action is purified. Whatever we do is then pure action. Otherwise, it has the impurity of not being grateful enough. So he says, you eat food every day. So when you get that food, of course, you might have worked hard and then you got a salary and you purchased that food from the market. But that food is given from material nature, by the material nature. So offer that food to the Supreme Lord as a matter of gratitude. Thank the Supreme Lord. This is called yajna or sacrifice. And this is an example basically. This applies to everything we do. So there's a very interesting book which I recommend here to all of you. If you get time, you read this book. It's available on Amazon, called Bhakti Yoga, Nourishing Body, Mind and Soul. It's by Paul Rodney Tuner. So here he explains the benefits and the importance of offering our food to the divine, to the Supreme Lord. So he calls this book Bhakti Yoga, how we can attain yoga through the simple act of eating. We all eat. So how we can make our food sacred, how we can make our activity of eating divine. He explains beautifully in this book. So then Krishna, again, he's trying to explain this whole subject with more depth, more detail. So he speaks this verse, Annad Bhavanti Bhutani. He's explaining the whole cycle, connecting the dots. He says, first, Arjuna, you know, there is a Supreme Lord, right? Arjuna says, yes. So he says, the Supreme Lord has given us manual to live properly in this world, and that manual is called the Vedas. Vedas give us knowledge. How should we be living in this world? And in that manual, there is explanation of the duties that each one of us have. Duty is not self-decided. Sometimes people ask this question, what is my duty? Can I choose? You see, duties are not chosen. Duties are given to us from a higher source, from a higher authority. That's why it's called duty. So the Vedas, the scriptures, the manuals that Krishna has given decides what we should be doing, what is our duty, and that is called karma. Then When we perform that duty as a matter of duty and offer the result of that duty to Krishna, then it's called sacrifice or yajna. So it can be anything. Like for me, taking the example here, teaching is my duty. And the same activity of teaching for me can also become yajna. For you all who are watching this session, attending this session, being a good student is your duty. And you can make this duty, this act into a sacrifice or yajna. For a doctor, doing an operation, treating a patient can also become a sacrifice. For a civil engineer, constructing a building can also become a sacrifice. For a mother, to cook for the child can also become a sacrifice. For a politician, serving the country can also become a sacrifice. For a soldier, fighting on the battlefield can also be an act of sacrifice, an act of yajna. If that person does that as duty with this understanding that this duty has come to me from the Vedas, which have come from the Supreme Lord, and if I perform them in the manner it's given in the Vedas with gratitude towards the Supreme Lord and offer the result of that duty to the Supreme Lord, then it's yajna. And if we do that, what's the next thing? Here, Krishna is just giving one example, but we can generalize it. Our desires will be fulfilled easily. So if we perform sacrifice, we get rains. If there is rain, there is food grain. If there is food grain, then there is life. And with life, we are supposed to serve the Supreme Lord. So the full cycle goes like this. If we miss on or we skip any of the stages here, phase, then the cycle is incomplete. So then there is an imbalance in the cosmos, in the creation. This sounds very simple, and to some this may sound too orthodox also, but actually it is a science. It's pretty sensible, very, very much reasonable that here people in this world, they are not independent, they are interdependent. I hope you have heard these two terms before, independent and interdependent. So people think we are independent. We don't really depend on others. We don't depend on other living entities. We don't depend on the demigods. I alone. I mean, that's how I survive. But it's not so. For the survival of every living entity in this world, there is so much of contribution by others, whom we see, whom we don't see. Because of their contribution, we survive. So an intelligent person would acknowledge that and be grateful. So this is another important lesson. A grateful person thanks God for everything and remains grateful forever. One who has gratitude in his heart is filled with contentment. You see, I got this beautiful picture. This is a small baby child who is offering pranams, respect to food grains that are in front of that child. Perhaps the parent told the child that these food grains have been given to us by God, so you respect that food grains. So this how our attitude should be towards everything in life. We should be grateful. Having spoken this, now Krishna is going to take Arjuna with a different understanding, different concept he'll be explaining. Again, a very important concept. What is that? These three terms: vikarma, karmakanda, karma yoga. Please be very attentive to understand these terms. Vikarma, karmakanda, karma yoga. Some of you are asking me questions like Agastya ji asked me a question, Kavita ji. Can you please re-ask this question at the end when we'll have the question answer time? So please ask these questions at the end again. Now I won't be able to answer them. So here Krishna is introducing now these three terms: vikarma, karmakanda, and karma yoga. They may look similar, but they have different consequences. Let me explain it in simple language, and then we will show you it on slide. You see, let's say I have a desire. I have some desire. I want something. Now that desire can be fulfilled in a right way or in a wrong way. Like a child wants a chocolate. So that child can either go to a shop and steal the chocolate, or that child can go to the shop, pay the price, and buy the chocolate. The end desire of the child is to eat the chocolate. And fulfillment of that desire can be done in the right way and the wrong way. So when it's done in the wrong way, that is called 𝗍𝗑𝗫. 𝗍𝗑𝗫 means wrong karma, sinful action. What is sin? Sin is not a fictional term. Sin is basically very simple. When we break the law, when we do things in a wrong manner, unrightful manner, then it's called a sin. So sinful action means we break the law made by God. We do that thing in the wrong way. And why we do it? Because we have some desire. We want to fulfill that desire, so we do it. But we take the wrong path. So that's called 𝗍𝗑𝗫, sinful action. The next is called karma kanda. Karma kanda means I have a material desire. We are not talking about spiritual desire. I have a material desire, and to fulfill that material desire, I take the right path. And where is that right path given? In the Vedas, in a particular section called karma kanda. Karma kanda is a section of the Vedas which give us the knowledge. If you have a particular desire, how you should fulfill that desire. So here I act as per the guidance of the Vedas. So this is called prescribed action, and this will also fulfill my material desires, but in the right way. Karma yoga is above even karma kanda. Karma yoga means I do have material desire. It's not that I have spiritual desire. I do have material desire. But for me, my duty is more important than my desire. So I perform my work as a matter of duty, as a sacrifice. And by doing that, the desire automatically gets fulfilled. It automatically gets fulfilled. I don't have to work towards it. I just work as a matter of duty. And the desire is fulfilled. So like, further example, I can either steal the chocolate, that's called sinful action. I can pay the money and buy the chocolate, that's prescribed action. Or the third thing, I pay the money, buy the chocolate, offer it to God as a matter of gratitude, So when I offer it to God, my work has become a sacrifice. And then once the food is offered, of course, God is not going to eat your chocolate. You are going to get your chocolate back. Then you eat that chocolate as a mercy of God. Then this is called, purifying or purification of my desire. I have fulfilled my desire in a purified manner. Desire is also fulfilled. I got the enjoyment of eating chocolate, but in the best way possible. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, don't go for 𝗍𝗑𝗫. That's very bad. Don't even go for karma kanda. That's good, but not the best. Go for karma yoga. Now in the modern day society, because people are not aware of this knowledge, they are actually unknowingly getting too much of wrong reactions because they don't know the law. When you don't know the law and you break the law, you get the punishment, isn't it? That's how it works. So people in this age, they say we don't want to study Gita, but if we don't study Gita, we won't know how the nature is working, how the cosmos is designed. And when we unknowingly break the laws, there is a reaction that comes to us. And because of that, we suffer like anything. So people don't understand that why, if we do the wrong thing, there will be a wrong reaction. And many times, even though there is a way to fulfill that desire in the right way, because of lack of knowledge, we go for the wrong way. And that, in turn, brings much more problems in our life. So Krishna explained that to Arjuna. He said, Arjuna, try to understand. There is 𝗍𝗑𝗫, which you have to give up. I mean, I'm not encouraging you for 𝗍𝗑𝗫. I'm also not encouraging you for karma kanda. I'm encouraging you for karma yoga. So karma kanda means, okay, coming back to that slide, karma kanda means sacrifice to the demigods. And karma yoga means sacrifice to the Supreme Lord. So when Krishna explained this to Arjuna, Arjuna then asks another very interesting question. I love Bhagavad-Gita because I love the way Arjuna is exercising his intelligence and trying to go deep into the subject matter. So he says, okay, wait a second. You said that I should work because it's my duty. But then what about the Gyanis whom you mentioned? They are people who take sannyas, they do they go for tyag, don't they have any duty? Why do they renounce then? Why there is an ashram called sannyas ashram then? Why it should be there? Why should I just not continue to work whole life till I die? Why people they retire? Now this is interesting, and any sensible person will think like that. 2 weeks ago, I was giving a class to people in China. We were having discussion on Bhagavad-Gita. So one lady asked me this question: if work is the means, then I should never give up work. So why in scriptures it said that at some point of time you should retire? Arjuna is saying the same thing. Then why people give up work? So Krishna says, Arjuna, try to understand. A self-realized person has no material duty because they have no material desires. Please, this is very essential. It may not be applicable to you, but try to understand the philosophy. Many times you may come across people, or you may also get these thoughts, let me give up. This life is so difficult. Let me just give up. Many people, they make a joke of it. Oh, if your life is too troublesome, you give up your responsibilities and then you go to a temple, you start living in the temple, you go to a holy place, you become a sannyasi and you become a monk, and then your problems will be solved. That is just an immature way of explaining things. That's not how it works. Krishna says, only a person who does not have material desires, that's a big statement. Only a person who has no material desires, that person has no material duties. If a person has material desires, that person has material duties, and that person cannot give up material duties. So a jnani should be someone who is free from material desires. So then Arjuna says, oh, now I understand. You mean to say that for someone who has material desires, that person should always perform the prescribed duty? Krishna said, yes. And then if someone is free from those desires, then that person can give up the duty and take sannyas? Krishna said, yes. Arjuna said, Krishna, I also have no desire. I told you. Didn't I tell you? I told you. I don't want this kingdom. I don't want the happiness. I don't want the name and fame. I just want to have a peaceful life. Krishna, if you remember, Arjuna told that to Krishna in chapter 1. Kim no rajena govinda. Right? I don't want this kingdom. What will I do of this kingdom? I don't want the happiness that comes by becoming a king. I don't want. So I have no material desires. So why should I fight? Why are you then asking me to fight? And then Krishna tells something which again puzzles Arjuna. He says, Arjuna, because it's your duty. Arjuna says, now which duty? I mean, come on, you told if you have no desire, no duty, but then you are telling me I have a duty again. Which duty is it? And then Krishna explains something very important, very, very important. He tells, 𝗏𝗏 𝗟𝗏𝗃. He says, Arjuna, please try to understand one thing. It's not about your personal life alone. You might be personally very, very qualified to give up work, go to the forest, live as a mendicant, as a sannyasi. You might be qualified, I agree. But are all these soldiers who have come on the battlefield of Kurukshetra to fight, they qualified like you? Are they equally qualified? And Arjuna was thinking, I don't think so. So Krishna said, you are an ideal example for them. If you leave the battlefield now, today, they all are going to follow you. They will just walk behind you. They will think, if Arjuna is running away from the battlefield, then who are we? Why should we stand and fight? We just follow Arjuna. He is our hero. The hero goes, we also go. But they are not yet ready to give up their material duties. And if you give up your material duties, you'll inspire them to prematurely give up their material duties, which will be disastrous for them. So you work to set good example for others. That's a very important lesson for each one of us. Anyone who is in the position of a leader, a caretaker, a counselor, a teacher, a parent, anyone who has responsibility for others should know one thing. As soon as we have taken on sub-responsibility which will affect others' lives, then we are not just living for ourselves. We have to live in a way that we are living for others also. So Arjuna says, okay, can you give me an example of such a person who did like this? And Krishna says, yes, King Janaka, he did that. He was a very, very spiritually advanced person, but he never gave up his duty as a king. He continued to be a good king, and he taught his citizens how to act, how to live. So this verse comes in Gita, which is a very important sutra for anyone who is in a leadership position. Yad yad acharati shreshtas tattadevetaro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokas tat anuvartate. Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow, sometimes even blindly. And whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. When Arjuna heard this, he told Krishna, but Krishna, I am not a great man. Krishna said, Arjuna, you are. For all these millions of people, you are a very great man. You are their hero, and they follow you, even blindly. So for the sake of teaching these people, you should work as a matter of duty. Arjuna said, it's very easy to talk like that. It's very easy to talk like that. Fight to teach others. Wow. Very good. I should fight. I should kill my family members to teach others. And Krishna said, Arjuna, I'm not just telling you. I also do like that. Now, before we go to that, I'll tell you a very interesting story. I love this story. I like this story so much because this has a good lesson for us. Anyway, I have not asked you a question for a long time. So, can anyone identify this person whom you are seeing on the screen with a 3-line tilak on face? Who is this person? No response? Chanakya. Oh, very good. You all know. Great. So Chanakya Pandit. So this is a story from the life of Chanakya Pandit. Very much instructive. Once a Chinese traveler visited the kingdom of Chandragupta Maurya. You all know, or you must be knowing the story in detail, that Chanakya helped Chandragupta Maurya become the king. So once a Chinese traveler came to the kingdom of Chandragupta Maurya and he saw everything was perfect. I mean, there was no flaw. The king was ruling so well. The citizens were happy. The kingdom was flourishing. Everything was going so well. And as if, some divine people are managing the show. So this Chinese traveler, he seeked a meeting with the king and he said, I want to know from you, what's the secret of your success? How are you acting as such a good king? Please tell us some tips so that I can go back to my place and tell the people there that how they should be ruling. And Chandragupta Maurya said, for this, I don't have any personal credit for this. The whole credit goes to my minister, my guide, my counselor. And the traveler said, really? Who is that person? I would love to meet that person. So Chandragupta Maurya said, his name is Chanakya Pandit, and he lives in the forest. He doesn't live in the city. He lives in the forest. He has a very small hermitage. You go and meet him. So the traveler said, anyone can meet? Yes, no appointment needed. Just go and meet. So the traveler, with so much of anticipation, went to see Chanakya Pandit. He entered the small house of Chanakya Pandit. At that time, Chanakya Pandit was busy making some notes. It was almost the evening time and the sun was going to set, twilight. It was a bit dark, so Chanakya Pandit was using a lamp, a small lamp on the desk and making some notes. So when that person came, Chanakya welcomed him. He said, please sit. I have few things to complete and then we will discuss. After some time, when the work was done, Chanakya Pandit, he put off the lamp, took the lamp, put it on the shelf. Next to that, there was another lamp very similar to this lamp, and he brought that lamp and put it on. The flame size was the same, the lamp was the same, everything was the same. So this person was thinking, what is this? Is this a custom? Is this a tradition in India that when a guest comes, then you change lamps? The lamp is the same, the kind of light, the amount of light, everything is the same. So why did he change the lamp? Did the previous lamp finish in its fuel? No, the fuel was there. So he asked Chanakya Pandit, may I ask you a question, sir? If you don't mind, can you tell me, I did not understand, why you changed the lamp? Chanakya Pandit said, when you came, I was working for the king. I was doing some task for the king. So I was using the lamp which I bought with the money that the king gave to me. Now, when I'm talking to you, this is not a task I'm doing for the king. You are my guest. And I'm using the lamp which I have bought with my own money. I cannot use the lamp which I bought with king's money. That's for king's job, not for my job. For my personal use, I have my lamp. When the traveler heard this from Chanakya Pandit, he got all the answers to his questions. And he said, if you are such an ideal person, such an ideal leader, I can only imagine how will be the rule in this kingdom, how will be the king in this kingdom, how will be the guidance that you give to this king. So this story teaches us that if we want to have good impression upon others of good values, we need to set good example. It's something which anyone would understand and accept. So Krishna is telling Arjuna the same thing. Arjuna, please learn to live for others and learn to set a good example. So you fight for the sake of others as a matter of duty. Is this the final instruction of Gita? No. This is a higher level of instruction from Bhagavad-Gita, and highest level of instruction of Gita will come later. But this is also something very good. So here in chapter 3, Krishna is only teaching up to this. Afterwards, Krishna is going to also take Arjuna to a step further of selflessness and gratitude. But here, because we are in chapter 3, we are discussing only to this level, that do your duty for the sake of teaching others. So then Arjuna's question was, Krishna, it's easy to say, difficult to do. Krishna said, I also do. 𝗍 𝗵 𝗼𝗶 trishu lokeshu kinchana. I have no work to do, Arjuna. Does God have any work to do? Of course not, because God has no need. He has no material desire, and there's no one above God to tell God you should be doing this. So he said, I have nothing to do, literally. But when I come to this material world, I descend in my avatar, I also work the way I should be working. When I come as a Kshatriya, I work as a Kshatriya. When I come as a cowherd boy, I work as a cowherd boy. When I become a king, I act like a king. When I am a child, I work like a child. So I also work. There's no work for me in the three worlds. I don't lack anything and I have no desire. Still, Arjuna, to teach others, I work the way the whole cosmos is designed. So here, now, by telling this, Krishna is answering Arjuna's fourth doubt, which he had to not fight. Yesterday, someone asked me, in chapter 2, we discussed the answer to the first doubt, to the second, to the third. What about the fourth? So it's here that the fourth doubt of Arjuna is being clarified. Anyone remembers? What was Arjuna's fourth reason to not fight the battle? Yesterday, you all told us the first three. What was the fourth reason to not fight the battle? What was Arjuna thinking? If I fight, what will happen? So what was the fourth reason to not fight? Tradition destroyed. Very good. Destruction of dynasty. Right? The dynasty will be finished. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, if you don't perform your duty, then the dynasty will be destroyed. The tradition will be destroyed. If you perform your duty, then there will be no destruction of dynasty. And then he says, if I also don't perform my duty, then there is destruction. If I perform my duty, there is no destruction. It's construction. It's constructive, right? So you perform your duty, that will be a constructive step, not a destructive step. So here is a very important teaching. Do the duty even if you don't like to do. Because if you don't do it, it can be really disastrous. If do the duty, even if you don't like to, because if you don't do it, then the result will be disastrous. So then, having spoken this, Arjuna is now asking in application level. Someone works in ignorance and someone works in knowledge. You are asking me to work in knowledge. There are people in this world who work in ignorance. You are asking me to work in knowledge. What is the difference? I mean, both are working. So how do we know someone is working as a matter of yoga and someone is working not as a matter of yoga? Like someone here asked, how can we say this work is a sacrifice, a yajna? So Arjuna is asking, what makes the work a sacrifice? So Krishna says, a person who is ignorant, who does not work with this idea of sacrifice, he thinks I am the doer. It's me who has done everything. The whole credit should go to me. Why the success? Is because of me. I did it. Everything has come because of my efforts. So Arjuna says, if I did not do, then who did? Who does? I mean, if I have to shoot an arrow, it's me who's going to lift the bow, put the arrow, and then pull the thread behind, and then shoot the arrow. If I don't do, who does? Krishna explains that little bit here, not so much in detail. It will come later on in other chapters. So he says, Arjuna, there is not one factor behind any action. There are many, many factors. There's not just one doer. He says, even the material nature supports you or not. So the material nature also has a role to play. So an intelligent person, he knows I alone independently cannot do everything. I need support. I need help. So an ignorant person thinks it's me who does everything. But a person in knowledge knows I depend on some forces, some help, some sanction of the Supreme Lord to be able to do something. So Arjuna, then again, another question, series of questions from Arjuna. If a wise person works, why that wise person works and for whom that wise person works? And Krishna says, that person works for me. It's the first time in Gita, Krishna is now introducing the concept of bhakti. Bhakti means basically you work for God. That's bhakti. If it's not for God, then it's not bhakti. So Krishna says, introduces the concept of Bhakti Yoga. When you work for me, for Krishna, that's called Bhakti Yoga. So Arjuna says, for you, Krishna says, yes, for me. Now it's an instruction to Arjuna. Give up your personal desires and also lethargy, and you fight for me. You don't have your desires, your personal selfish desires, and you should not be lazy towards doing your duty, and you should do the work for me. You should fight for me because you are my friend and you love me. So when we act like this, when we act with this knowledge, then this knowledge will give us which of these two results. Duty as per this knowledge can either give us bondage or can give us freedom. Which one it will give? It will give us bondage or freedom when we act like this. I won't tell why it will give bondage or why it will give freedom now. We'll see that in the coming chapters. But from now till now, whatever you have heard from Gita and you have understood, try to explain. If a person acts like this, he acts for God. That kind of action will lead to bondage or freedom. That will lead to freedom. Yes, pretty simple. That will lead to freedom. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, you work like this. And then this will free you from the bondage of karma. So Arjuna has understood, but now Arjuna has a different thing going on in his mind. Some confusion, which is again a very practical subject for us to understand. Arjuna says, Krishna, a person who knows what is to be done and what is not to be done, he knows what is right and what is wrong. Even such a person engages in wrong things. Many times it is seen that a person who knows what is not to be done does that. So he says, why is that? And Krishna says, it's because of the nature of that person. very deep-rooted conditioned nature, swabhav, also called sanskar in Sanskrit, is there, and that's why a person is forced to act like that. So Krishna tells Arjuna, Arjuna, because you're a Kshatriya, you'll be forced to act like a Kshatriya. In a day, you cannot become a Brahmana. So you should work as per your nature. Don't try to work in a different manner. What is your nature? First identify your psychophysical nature. And then you work as per your nature, then you'll be happy. If you work in a different manner, then you'll not have job satisfaction. These days people say, I am earning so much and I have so many things, but I am not satisfied. No job satisfaction. The reason for that is we are doing a job which is not as per our nature. So that's why there is no satisfaction. So Krishna says, Arjuna, you are a Kshatriya. You should work as a Kshatriya. That will give you satisfaction. If you try to do the work of someone else, you will not be satisfied. So do your duty. Don't poke your nose into someone else's duty. And Arjuna says, what if I start working in a manner that it's someone else's duty I'm doing, not my duty? So Krishna says, then you will not get any satisfaction. So here's a lesson, another very practical lesson. Only by doing work according to one's psychophysical nature, one gets material happiness and one gets satisfaction in material activities. If we work against our nature, we cannot be happy. People, even if they want to be materially happy, Gita teaches us that we should work as per our nature, not someone else's nature, not what the society tells us, what our superiors tell us, what our friends tell us, not for some kind of social image. It should be as per our nature. That will give us more satisfaction. So Arjuna understands that, and then he says, even though I know it's my nature to fight, there is something inside me which is not letting me fight. Something stopping me. What is that force which is pulling me against my own true nature and forcing me to do something which I don't want to do? And this happens with all of us. We know what we should be doing, what is right, what is wrong, the consequences of doing the right, the consequences of doing the wrong. But many a times we still end up doing the wrong thing because there is something inside which forces us to do the wrong thing. So Arjuna says, Atakena prayuktoyam bhapam charati purushah anichanapi varshneya balad iva niyojitaha. What you are telling Krishna is right, is correct. I know, I am a Kshatriya and I must fight. But there is something inside me which is not letting me fight. There is some weakness inside. There is some internal force, balad eva niyojita, which is forcing me to act in the wrong manner. What is that? And Krishna says, 𝗃𝗵𝗁𝗃 rajoguna samudbhava. It's your wrong desire, called lust or kam in Sanskrit. Your greatest enemy, your wrong desires. That's what's stopping you from doing your duty. And if you give in to this temptation called lust, the temptation becomes stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger, and you cannot overcome it. So Arjuna says, you pinned it, Krishna. I mean, this is what it is. Our own wrong desires that make us do the wrong thing, go against our own duty. And it's very difficult to win over this enemy because this enemy is pretty strong. And Krishna said, yes, the more you allow this enemy to win over you, the more stronger this enemy gets. So you should fight this enemy. Arjuna says, it's very difficult to fight. Krishna says, you can do, Arjuna. You can fight this enemy. There are inner enemies and you can fight them. And for you to fight this battle, the inner battlefield, is much more important than to fight the external battle, which is with the Kauravas. Karna is your enemy, yes, but more stronger than Karna is the enemy sitting inside. That's why Gita becomes so important for each of us, because we may not have a Karna outside to fight with, but we all have enemies inside to fight with. We may not have an external battle to fight, but we all have an internal battle to fight with our own biases, our weaknesses, our bad qualities. So Arjuna once said, it's difficult and I cannot do it. Krishna said, it's possible for you because you are a human being. And Krishna gives this analogy, very beautiful analogy. He says, there are three kinds of living entities: trees, animals, and humans. And in trees, the enemy called lust is very, very strong. In animals, it's less strong. In humans, it's the least strong. And because you are a human being, you can overcome your bad habits. Animals, they can't. Trees, forget it. Though they have consciousness, they have life, they work like a pre-programmed machine so much. But humans, they also work like a pre-programmed machine, but they can change themselves. It's possible. So Krishna gives this analogy of how the smoke covers the fire, the dust covers the mirror, the womb covers the embryo, and the thickness of the covering is different. Smoke covering is very thin, dust little thick, and then womb very, very thick. So the womb covers the embryo so much that the embryo can not be perceived actually. The embryo cannot feel what is going on outside so much. And when the dust covers the mirror, we cannot see ourselves in the mirror. But when the smoke covers the fire is visible. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, in humans, there are wrong desires, but the wrong desires can be removed easily. And you are a human being, Arjuna, so you can do. So Arjuna says, okay, I'm ready. How to fight this enemy? So Krishna then teaches Arjuna the strategy to win the inner battle. Before he explains that, he tries to explain to Arjuna, first of all, how to locate. So, you can see this picture. And there's a question for you now. This is the second last question for this session today. What needs to be ascertained before killing the enemy? If we are in a war, in a battle, and we have to shoot down the enemy, what is the first thing that we need to identify? Then we shoot, but first what? So when Arjuna said, how can I win this inner enemy? So Krishna is going to first answer something to Arjuna. What is that? Position, very good. Location, target. Thank you so much. Yeah, I should know the target, the position of the enemy, where the enemy is located, isn't it? The location of the enemy. So when Arjuna said how to win over the inner enemy, first Krishna said, you locate where they are. And what is the location? He says, your enemy is at three places: the senses, the mind, the intelligence. And it's weakest where? It's weakest at the senses. So you target the senses first, then the mind, and then the intelligence. And you can do that because you are spirit soul, which is above all these three. You are more powerful than the senses, the mind, and the intelligence. So Arjuna said, what is needed to get victory over this enemy? And Krishna says, for that you need spiritual intelligence and spiritual strength. If you have spiritual intelligence and spiritual strength, you can win over this enemy, the inner enemy. You can win over this. So Arjuna will ask the last question: how to get the spiritual intelligence and strength? That will be Arjuna's question: how to get this spiritual intelligence and strength? And Krishna will say, by getting divine knowledge. This is where chapter 3 ends. A problem was diagnosed, a solution was given, but the detail of this solution will come in chapter 4. That's why the chapter 4 is called divine knowledge or transcendental knowledge. So chapter 3 is called Karma Yoga, yoga of work. How do we connect to God through work? And it's about duty. Again, it comes in a big category of self. So you can now start sending questions. Whatever you have, put in the comment box. We will take it after we complete the remaining 2 slides. So first lesson is, when we have desires, we should not give up desires, even if they are material desires. We should not deny them. We should purify them. That's what Gita teaches. People become afraid when they come to know about spiritual life. They think we'll have to give up a lot. We don't have to give up a lot. We just have to purify a lot. The same thing can be done in a purified manner. Like eating, it can be done in an impure manner, it can be done in a purified manner. So we don't give up eating, we give up impure eating. Likewise, anything. A job need not be given up, earning money need not be given up, but earning money in the wrong way has to be given up. And a purified way of doing that task has to be taken. So Krishna's first teaching through this chapter is, don't deny your desires, purify them. Second, accept the law of karma. It's very important. We should be very, very cautious about every single thing we do, we say, we think, because whatever we do, it's an investment and we are going to get similar returns. Nowadays, people are so unconscious about what they do. They must be very conscious of what they do, because what we get is only the result of what we have done. So if we are not satisfied with what we have, it's because we have not invested sufficiently in the past. So Arjuna knew this, and that's why, Arjuna is so particular about every single thing. If I act like this, what will happen? If I act like that, what will happen? I don't want to be bound. I want to become a free person. So how should I act? He is thinking so much. Why? He's exercising his intelligence because he knows the law of karma is very, very severe. It's not going to leave us if we say, oh, I didn't know and I did the wrong thing. Does it matter? Yes, it matters. It very much matters. So Bhagavad-Gita is so important for people, because if they don't know Bhagavad-Gita or scriptures, they are going to make a hell of their life. They are going to act wrongly, and this wrong action will bring wrong results, and then it leads to unnecessary suffering. Third, Krishna is teaching Arjuna to live a people-centered life, not a self-centered life. We have to learn to live in a way that our life benefits people, or those who are around us. Not it's just about me and mine, my life, the way I want to live, what will be pleasing to me, what will make me happy. We need to change the paradigm. We have to start thinking, what will make others happy? What will make the whole family happy, the whole society happy, the whole nation happy, the whole universe happy? So instead of being so self-centered in approaching life, we should be more people-centered. Instead of thinking about individual happiness, we should think about collective happiness. Next, fight the inner battle. Don't miss on this. If we miss on this, then someday we'll become so weak that the inner enemies will really, really torture us. So once we realize that this inner battle is there and it's been going on since day one of our existence, we should learn to start fighting with this inner battle. And with the knowledge given in Bhagavad Gita, we can win over this inner battle very easily. The last thing, Krishna is encouraging Arjuna and guiding Arjuna, that he's not telling, oh, inner battle is there and you will lose, Arjuna. No, he's saying inner battle is there. Don't be scared. Don't be frightened. It's difficult to win over it, but you can do. You can win. So Bhagavad Gita is very positive. Bhagavad Gita is not a book which is for pessimistic people. It's a book for realistic people, giving very optimistic solutions. So we understand the reality of life, and then we understand the severeness of whatever we do in life, and then we are optimistic to change ourselves and change our life. So that's what Bhagavad Gita does. It encourages us and guides us for a better life. So these were few lessons to take home. Quickly, chapter at a glance, Arjuna's question, should I give up or should I work? And Krishna says, you work as a matter of duty, do nishkama karma yoga. Then he explains the process of karma kanda to karma yoga, worshipping demigods to worship of the Supreme Lord, and the importance of sacrifice. Third section, work to set a good example for others. And finally, when Arjuna says, I know what I should do, but there's something inside me which forces me to do the wrong things. And Krishna says, who is that? What is that force? It's an enemy inside you called lust. Sanskrit, kama. In general, it means material desires. That's what makes you do the wrong thing, even when you know it should not be done. So quiz, you all know the description box has the quiz link. It will open soon from now, after some time. Do the quiz and do it soon. Don't delay it for the end. Don't keep it till the end of the course. And next session will be on 1st of January 2022, 4 p.m. Please connect if possible. I know you may have so many things to do, but why not begin your first day of a new year with studying Bhagavad Gita? So we are going to discuss chapter 4 in the next session. Very important chapter. The science, the tool to make our intelligence spiritually strong and to become more spiritually wise will be given by Lord Krishna in chapter 4. So here now I can take your questions. We have some questions asked. Sumanji, is Chanakya all lessons truly applicable? Well, it depends on who wants to apply and in which situation wants to apply. You see, Chanakya's lessons are not universal, and it's not for universal audience. So when we say a lesson, it has to be at a particular time, for a particular person, in a particular situation. Isn't it? Bhagavad-Gita is universal. Chanakya's teachings are for a particular class of people for a particular time and in a particular situation. So we need to apply using some common sense. Next question. If you are not happy with our current job, is it okay to leave it and go towards the right kind of job? Yes, very much. How to identify the right career for ourselves? It's a big question. I mean, people, they spend hours and hours to get career counseling. So I cannot really give a justified answer to this in few seconds or few minutes, but I'll give you some hint. Any task which you love to do, not because of the pay you get from that task, but you have an inner, calling towards that, a natural inclination towards that, and you do that because you like doing that, not just because it gives you some good salary, then that is what your nature is. That's what your right career is. Please try to understand. If it's for money and we are worried about a better pay scale, a better salary, then that's a different thing. Then the answer would be whatever pays you more, you go for that job. But if you're looking for satisfaction, then try to go for that job which you do not just for money. Money should be there as a secondary factor. The first thing is you like doing it, and you will do it with all sincerity from your heart. So that's the thing which is best for you. And we can then take help. I mean, we can take suggestion from others. What's my nature? I cannot identify my nature. You can even take help from Ayurveda. You can take help from astrology. This gives a peek in our own nature, what nature we have. So I hope I'm able to answer in some way your question, though the answer might be more elaborate, but based on the time we have, I can only answer that much, Poojaji. Thank you so much. Ritesh ji, you have missed giving quiz for first 2 sessions. So can you give them now? Oh, yes, you can give them now. You see, please also try to understand. If you have missed to give the previous quizzes, the quizzes are still open and you can give them now. So we have purposefully kept all the quizzes open because we know sometimes people are not able to join live. Sometimes they are not able to complete the quiz in 1 week time because they have many things to do in life. So we have made the course in a very, very user-friendly manner for you. You join live. If not possible, hear the recordings. If you can do the quiz same day, very good. If you can do it after 2 weeks, no problem, do it after 2 weeks. So this course, the duration is 2.5 months. You have all the time till the end of February to do all the quizzes. But best if you start doing it now so that at the end it doesn't become a burden upon you. Sumanji, does unfulfilled desires lead to rebirth? Yes, it leads to rebirth. Next question. Scenario, say I'm a writer and don't copy work of other writers, which fairly very common. Write what is bestowed on me as original thought. Question, is this sacrifice, praying to Ma Saraswati? It's not sacrifice because you are doing your work in a rightful manner, but you are not adding the God element to that. It becomes a sacrifice only if you work in this manner, in the right manner, but also offer the result of your work for God's service. Then it becomes a sacrifice. Please try to understand. Just being good is not good enough. You have to also give the result for the pleasure of God. Then it becomes yajna in sacrifice. Okay. Nisha ji, in odd situation, difficult to keep words sober. How can we be conscious or pause before speak? It's good that first we have realized this thing that we are not sometimes sober when we talk. So that's the first step. That's good. You have taken that step. Now, next is we need to practice. I mean, we need to practice this, that when we speak, we think more than we talk, And how can we do that? Again, different people would do it differently. Some people, before they talk, they would prefer to write. And when they have written it requires some time to write, isn't it? So then it gives them some time to think whether this is right, whether this is wrong. So try to do that. When you speak it out, before that, try to speak in the mind and see, will this sound correct? Will this have the right impact on the other person? So we can apply these few techniques. Next, controlling senses, then mind, then intelligence, or first sharpen our intelligence first and then control mind and senses, which is practical, easy, and desirable. We need to do both. If we don't sharpen our intelligence, we cannot even control our senses. So it works both ways. We sharpen our intelligence, getting divine knowledge, but when it comes to practical implementation, we start winning over the enemy where the enemy is the weakest, which means you start controlling the senses. So it goes hand in hand. You also have to do the job of sharpening the intelligence, and at the same time do the job of avoiding the interaction with the sense objects at the level of the senses. Then progress happens. What is the relationship between Lord Krishna and Shiva? Lord Shiva is a devotee of Lord Krishna. That's their relationship. Is Lord Shiva a demigod? He is higher than a demigod, but he plays the role of a demigod. Okay? His role is, his position and power is much above the demigods, most of the demigods. But then he plays the role of a demigod. But his position is a bit lower than the position of the Supreme Lord, Krishna. Hinaji, do we have any Hindi channel for the same? In this same channel of mine, there is already a list of videos in Hindi language, all the videos, because we did the Hindi course 3 months back from now, and all those videos are available in Hindi language. Okay. Okay, any more questions? Is revenge bad if done to set a right example for others to not act that way? Again, you see, when you ask such questions to me, I cannot give a very justified answer because I don't know the situation, what kind of revenge and what will be the consequence of that revenge. So yesterday also I mentioned, I think it was to you or someone else, when you have such questions to ask, please give me more details, right? Because if I say yes, then if you take a revenge and that has a very severe consequence, then that would be an injustice actually on my part to speak like that. So when you ask such questions, give me more details, then I can answer better. And the revenge should never be done as a revenge. It should be done as a means of instructing that person. So when we instruct that person, we never call it a revenge. Revenge means which is done with hatred. And you don't teach people with hatred. You teach people with love. So the word itself is wrong. It's not revenge then. Then it's basically a lesson to that person. So please give me more details so that I can answer it better. If you are constantly failing at a task, keep it up or quit if it determines your future. Again, I mean, please, it depends on the situation. What task you're talking about? What task you're talking about? So it all depends on that. Give me more details. I can answer better. You joined our class yesterday. How can I get the first 2 sessions and quiz? Okay. So in the channel where you are watching this video now, in the same channel, just go to the playlist. This video is in a particular playlist. In that playlist, all the previous videos are there. Or do one thing. After this session is over, in the comments, in the video comments, you write this message. And then I'll send all the links as a reply to your comment. Is that okay? Thank you so much for joining. Please add me in WhatsApp. I'm unable to go through quiz. So how will I add you to WhatsApp? You will have to give us your number. So put your number in the comments later after the live session is over. Okay. Can you please elaborate the explanation of sacrifice? Sacrifice means when we do an activity for the pleasure of God. So when we vow to donate some fixed percent of income to spiritual groups on monthly basis, does that amount to seva? Yes, that's sacrifice. Yes, that is sacrifice. Riteshji, if you complete the quizzes now, will you get certificate? Yes, you'll get the certificate. 2.5 months to complete the quiz and you get the certificate. Please send registration link for English course. Okay, I'll put the registration link as comments to this video. You can register. Okay, and someone said, You think justice of God is Shanidev? No, you see, God of justice, you mean to say, right? Correct. So the God of justice is, the final power is in the hand of Yamaraj. Yamaraj has the final role, final say. And above Yamaraj is the Supreme Lord Paramatma. But Yamaraj has given the power, the complete power. Shani is just a planet which has a certain role to play, not complete justice. Shani has a very peculiar role to play in people's life. It only aggravates, catalyzes the right and the wrong results, not more than that. The person who decides, that's Yamaraj. He makes the decision, right? Shani is just like a catalyst, nothing more than that. Okay, so we'll end here. Thank you so much. I do understand that this session was a bit technical, but you all patiently stayed till the end and try to be with us. We thank you so much for that. We are grateful. See you next week, Saturday, same time. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.